Hello, welcome to another video, and today I'm going to show you my Hellzerker Amara. Just a quick update video on it. I say quick, this is going to be like 20 minutes. So, not really much has changed since my last video. I just wanted to make an updated one, just to go over some of the new content that's in the game. We've got Mayhem 4 with that huge 1000% enemy health increase, so we got to deal with that. And thankfully, I didn't really need to change Hellzerker Amara much in order to account for Mayhem 4. So first I'll go over the gear, and the gear is pretty simple. Use what's good. So of course this might change in terms of future balance patches, but I think they've slowed down on that, so some good weapons are just going to be ones like the Linoge, the Skexel, the Dictator, absolute amazing weapon. The Nighthawken's great, Maggie of course, you're always going to be safe with a Maggie. Cutsman is a great bossing weapon. And yeah, from there it's pretty much guns that you like. Lyuda, Hellwalker, Conference Call, Becker, Brainstormer. This thing is really good for hard areas like the raid. This build can do the raid. My solo of the raid last week is with this build. Now I do change it up ever so slightly now. I take out Infusion, and that's pretty much the only real change, but yeah. Brainstormer, this is great. You can get this in Kadagawa's Ball, it's fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, guns, the ones that are good, the ones that I use most are Maggie, Nighthawken, and Dictator. Unless I'm doing the raid, which I also use Brainstormer and Cutsman's. Anyway, as for shields, what you like, so Stopgap, good purples, Transformer's great. I use one that stacks Terror personally. You don't need Terror. I use a lot of Terror, because I don't mind the effects, but if you don't like Terror, you don't need Terror, you can just rock a better Anoint. And speaking of Anoints, all my stuff is anointed, but you don't need it to be. If you're a fresh level 50, or you know, you're just leveling up and you don't have many Anoints, don't worry. I used this exact same build when I, first hit 50. I pretty much defaulted to an Avatar Sustainment, because I wanted that combo. So that's kind of where it started. And basically, just to get started when it came to Anoints, I bought a purple sniper rifle. I think I might actually still have it on me. Yes, I do. I bought this from Earl's Vendor. So you can just get a good slam Anoint in there from Earl's Vendor on a purple. And if you use Ties That Bind, you don't need any Anoint at all. In fact, I often use a lot of my slam and cast weapons with Ties That Bind, just because it doesn't need any good Anoints. However, Anoints to keep an eye out for are, of course, Phase Slam 300%, Phase Cast to 50%, and on Action Skill End 100% weapon damage for each of those. And of course, if you run Terror, 50% bonus Cryo while Terrified. Fantastic Anoint, it applies to all your damage, including your Action Skill damage, which is straight busted with Ties, but, you know. If you don't want to run Terror, you don't have to, you can use those other Anoints. And as I say, if you're, just hitting endgame, you don't need Anoints. It's just, it'll really help when getting to the higher Mayhem levels. However, yeah, for shields, I run the Transformer. It's just a great, solid, all-round shield. Class mod, the Hellzerker. This thing, is overall probably still the best class mod for just general play and mobbing. The Striver, this new one here, I'm sure you've heard of it. This thing is what I use for farming bosses. If I want to farm Agonizer, Front, just any boss actually, Rampager, Kadagawa's Ball, whatever. If the boss is relatively large, the Driver will be an awesome item to kill them with. However, for general use, I don't like it as much, so I'm sticking with the Hellzerker. Grenade. Again, personal preference. I'd value the Anoint. There's these new Anoints in the game where on Action Skill End you do bonus elemental damage. You can't get two of these and stack together, say like on the shield and the grenade, but you can get two different ones, so you can rock, say, Corrosive on your shield and then Shock on your grenade, or vice versa, or whatever. So get some of these. You can just get them on ones from Vendor. That's what I did to begin with. Otherwise, you can run Terror ones. I use increased damage and fire rate if you are using Terror, but if you're not, aim for these new Anoints on any grenade that you want. As for the Relic, now Relics in this game are extremely RNG dependent, because you've got the prefix, you've got the legendary part. I mean, I'm running purples, but it'd be better if you are using legendaries. And then you have 3 passives, and these passives could be nearly anything, so don't worry so much about the relic and matching the relics and the passives. Just keep an eye out for mag size, action skill cooldown rate, reload speed, generic stuff like that. So I use this Lucky Snowdrift because luck, I feel like, does something in the mag size and it's a Snowdrift, so that's just one that I've been using for a while. And the other prefix that you would probably want on relics are Elemental Projectors, works very well with the driver, good for boss farming, so those are the 2 I use. As for legendary relics, I'd keep an eye out for Victory Rush and Otto's Idol, 2 fantastic relics there, or artifacts as they're called now, I need to keep remembering that. So yeah, those are the ones I would keep an eye out for. That pretty much covers the gear. Very open to what you want to use, just if you are going to go for Mayhem 4, you will be sticking with the better stuff, such as Nighthawk and Maggie. Anyway, into the build. I don't touch green. It's a full blue, mostly red, and this is for 2 reasons. 1, so we have Avatar. Avatar is fantastic. And 2, so we have Sustainment. You cannot get any form of lifesteal if you go Avatar and Green Tree, so that's why we have to sacrifice green. Not saying green is bad, green is great. Green is utterly fantastic, but we want Avatar and lifesteal, so we can't have green yet. As for action skills, any you want. You can rotate, and I commonly do rotate by the action skills that I use. So if I'm using Phase Cast, I'll typically use Soul Sap. If I use Phase Slam, I'll typically use Stillness of Mind. And if I use Ties That Bind, I'll use Soul Sap again. The reason why I don't use Stillness on Ties That Bind is because Ties That Bind doesn't need line of sight, doesn't need the target to be still. It's just going to spread that damage anyway. So Stillness of Mind is pretty much only lowering the damage of Ties That Bind and increasing the cooldown. So you don't want that. And Soul Sap is great because it's lifesteal, which does work with Ties, so that's why I run Soul Sap with Ties That Bind. Anyway, we'll go over blue first. Do Harm. As I say, action skill damage applies to all 3 of the action skills that we use, so no brainer. Fast Hands, just a great general better use skill. 1 point in Violent Tapestry to keep our skills up. Transcend, accuracy and critical hit damage, 2 fantastic skills, or stats, just to make our guns a bit better. And some reload speed. And this will get us Ascendant. Now, in order to get to Laid Bare and whatnot, the points here are relatively open. If you want to drop a point in Violent, Alacrity, Transcend, whatever, and get Restless, you can go for it. You can do what you want up here. This is the setup that I have. Sometimes I do, you know, strip a point away from Alacrity, a point away from Violent Tapestry, and go Restless, that kind of thing. But yeah, you can pretty much do what you want up here. As for further down the tree, there's lots of gun damage here. Action skill damage, or damage upon hitting an enemy with your action skill. Get this. I believe it procs Ties That Bind on general adds as well as bosses, so just free damage. And it should apply to your team as well, so that's cool. Wrath. 20% gun damage, another 20% after action skill. We're constantly popping our action skill. No reason not to take this as free damage. Awakening, Rush Attack Effectiveness. That's going to give us a little bit of reload speed, but mainly action skill damage, which is, you know, Ties That Bind damage, which is kill everything. And then a point in Remnant, because Remnant is cool. It kills ghosts, and it strips shields, and again, free point this one, but I like Remnant. And then finally, Avatar. A second action skill is a no-brainer. Absolutely fantastic. No reason not to get it. And then the plus 10 rush stacks, which gives us gun damage and cooldown rate, thanks to Hellzerker. I should mention, Hellzerker does not get the bonus of Awakening, so just a heads up there. But 10 more rush stacks would also mean more reload speed and more action skill damage, and Ties That Bind, more damage, more kill everything. Ties That Bind is just really strong. Anyway, onto Red Tree. I run Infusion because So Infusion is fantastic because it allows you to make your Maggie do fire damage, and Nighthawk and stuff, so that alone is just worth it. And Shock as well. Unfortunately we don't have Corrosive, but you rarely need it. Now, in terms of dots, so people say Infusion's a bad skill because if you use Fire Infusion on a fire weapon, you're losing damage. The damage you're losing is negligible. Quick demonstration. Lineage. This thing does about 700 damage per projectile, nearly 10 fire rate. Bit less. 3 projectiles per second, which means we're firing about 20,000 damage per second. Our dot's doing 700. We don't care about dots. Now granted, the Linoge is an extreme case, but for the most part, you know, a 200 dot on the Dictator when we're firing 6 projectiles of 200 at 10 a second. You know, we don't care about dots, they're negligible, especially in Mayhem 4. Now if you build around them specifically, sure, don't go Infusion, but that's not what this build is, so Infusion's great. If you don't want to run it, you don't have to. You just put more points in Anima and like point in Wildfire. And you can get further down the tree that way, you don't have to take Infusion, but just bear in mind that the loss of dot damage when you use a fire weapon with 5 Infusion is, you don't have to worry about it, it's fine. Steady hands, increased handling and accuracy. The more shots that are being, you know, applied to the target, the more damage you're doing, so just makes your guns nicer to use and increases your applied damage. Anima is there to get us down the tree, also increases the duration of elemental projector, so why the hell not? Tempest, free multiplicative damage. Dread, it's great when we're using Grasp, we're not always using Grasp, but when we are, just free damage. Deep Well, more mag size on most of our guns. Indiscriminate, fantastic, fantastic skill. I do not like making an Amara build without it, which is a shame because it's so far down the tree, but this thing just kills. You can see Indiscriminate just killing enemies all the time, and it's fantastic. And then 2 out of 5 sustainment for our final 2 skill points. I'd love more, but we can't get more points, so 8% has to do, and it typically is. You can, if you're dealing enough damage, you can survive like striker barrages in the raid and stuff, so it's typically enough. Bit dicey. So yeah, that's a quick rundown of the build. If you have any further questions, be sure to ask in the comments. And yeah, it's the one that I like most, and as I say, I run Terror on mine. But you don't have to run Terror, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. This is the build that I've just kind of been using since launch, and every time I try to make another build, it's always just kind of come back to this one. Yeah, as for when to use each action skill, Phase Slam and Cast obviously versus bosses for those ridiculous annoyance. I also use Slam and Cast for easier mobbing, so say running through a Venus or something, because it's a lot of fun. And I do prefer, you know, the fun of Phase Slam and Phase Cast. However, for tougher mobbing environments, such as the Takedown, the Raid, and Slaughter Shaft, that's when we break out Ties That Bind. So if you don't know what Ties That Bind is, you pick up one enemy, it links a bunch of others, and that damage, you know, you hit the target, and then that target links, which then deals damage, and because they're all linked, they all take more damage, and then we've got Indiscriminate in there, and then we've got Do Harm, Laid Bearer, and Awakening, which increases that link damage, and it's just a lot of damage, and everything dies, and it's beautiful. So yeah, thank you for watching the gameplay. Beginning of the video was Mayhem 4, and I'm just going to show a quick bit of gameplay using some of the other action skills. Now again, Mayhem 4, I can't remember what the mods were. Bear in mind, my Guardian rank is bugged, so just a heads up, do not download any save files, since this is what seems to be causing it. You get a bunch of points you didn't ask for. I never wanted to put points in max health, shield stuff, I never wanted to put points in vehicle damage, but here we are. I was 75, 49, 70, 74, 49, 74, but after downloading somebody's save file to try out that build, it just gave me a bunch of points, and there's no fixing this, even if you load a backup. So just a heads up, that's a bug right now, when it comes to downloading save files, so just a warning. So yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time, and enjoy!